Hello everyone. We know how hard it can be to keep up with the latest news in Israel, so if you haven't had the time to stay on top of what's what in the Holy Land, have no worries. I'm Aaron Porras, and this is ILTV's Weekly Review. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has officially received the first mandate to form a coalition. In a special live broadcast from Jerusalem Wednesday night, President Rivlin explained that as of this moment, Netanyahu simply has the best chance at forming a government with his 55 mandates.
היכולת של חבר הכנסת נתניהו להרכיב ממשלה גבוהה יותר כרגע. לכן, אדוני, החלטתי לתת בידיך את האפשרות להרכיב ממשלה. ההחלטה לא לעכב את הטלת המנדט להרכבת הממשלה היא בהמשך לפגישה משותפת שקיימתי איתך ועם חבר הכנסת והרמטכ"ל לשעבר בני גנץ, ולאחר שאתם ביקשתם זאת מיידי.
So Netanyahu will now be given a 28-day period to form a coalition, and if he fails, Rivlin is reportedly expected to hand the second try to rival Benny Gantz from the Blue and White Party. Gantz only conjured 54 out of the 120 Knesset seats, while 3 of the 13 Joint Arab List members and all of Israel Beitenu's newly elected MKs abstained. In his acceptance speech, though, Netanyahu still says that he believes that a broad unity is the best option.
אני עושה זאת מתוך ידיעה שלא שיש לי סיכויים גבוהים יותר להקים ממשלה, אלא שבוא נגיד, אי היכולת שלי, קצת קטנה מזו, מאי היכולת של חבר הכנסת גנץ, משום שאנחנו שנינו לא נוכל להקים ממשלה אלא יחד. צו השעה זו ממשלת אחדות. ממשלת אחדות לאומית רחבה, ואני הייתי אומר מהירה.
The biggest issue now, however, is that both Netanyahu and Gantz are largely expected to fail in their respective first attempts. As previously suggested, ideas by President Rivlin were already shot down during the earlier negotiations this week. And now, with Netanyahu taking charge, Gantz and party number 2 Yair Lapid are already stating that they will not sit in a government with someone facing possible indictments on serious charges. Also, new reports from the Arab List appear to prove that Gantz intended to lose the first mandate all along in order to get Netanyahu to fail in the first negotiations. Joint Arab List Chairman Ayman Odeh on Wednesday confirmed that he was asked to reduce his coalition's endorsements of Gantz from 13 to 10.
In other news, the United Nations General Assembly in New York is currently underway, and while Prime Minister Netanyahu is noticeably absent for the first time in 8 years, he's still making headlines for his response to several international leaders. In a series of online video statements, Netanyahu calls out the president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, for likening Israel's policies around Gaza to the Nazis' treatment of the Jews. Erdogan accuses Israel of Judaizing Jerusalem and murder. Netanyahu, in turn, however, blasts Erdogan for lying and for slaughter in his own country.
מי שלא מפסיק לשקר על ישראל, מי שטובח בכורדים בארצו שלו, מי שמכחיש את הטבח הנורא בעם הארמני, שלא יטיף לישראל, ארדואן, תפסיק לשקר.
Then, with respect to Iran, Netanyahu addresses the recent attacks in Saudi Arabia, which heavily damaged the Saudis' oil output.
Britain, France, and Germany have said that Iran is responsible for the recent attack in Saudi Arabia. Let me say on behalf of Israel, very simply, Iran did it, A to Z. Israel will know how to defend itself against this type of aggression, and we call on all members of the international community to join President Trump's effort to increase the pressure on Iran. That's the only way to stop Iran's aggression.
And speaking of President Trump, the United States leader also calls on the international community to increase and maintain sanctions against Iran for its actions, such as engaging in monstrous anti-Semitism and a fanatical quest to gain nuclear weapons. By the same token, however, Trump argues that as part of the regional pull away from Iran, the Middle East should push towards full normalization with Israel. Meanwhile, outgoing U.S. Middle East peace envoy Jason Greenblatt has just held meetings in Israel with Prime Minister Netanyahu, U.S. Ambassador Friedman, and Israeli Ambassador to the U.S. Ron Dermer. And according to the White House diplomat, they discussed Israeli-U.S. relations, regional security issues, and the peace effort.
Greenblatt is also planning to meet with the heads of the various parties to get a feel for what's going on the ground in the wake of these landmark second elections. And this would be the first such meeting between senior White House officials and Blue and White leader Benny Gantz since he entered politics last year.
Greenblatt's trip to Israel was scheduled in advance of the elections in order to supposedly discuss the upcoming U.S. regional peace plan. But still, no details have come out, and neither Netanyahu nor Greenblatt have discussed the details of their latest conversations. Well, the U.S. President Donald Trump's so-called peace deal of the century was supposed to be released after the elections. It seems that it will be delayed yet again until after the coalition negotiations take place as well.
And that's because in the interim transitional government, such as the one in place today, it has limited powers, and it will not be able to legitimately negotiate any aspects of the deal anyway. Well, with that in mind, it seems that Greenblatt may stay on in his post for as long as it takes to unveil the plan. Greenblatt even indicated at a recent event in New York that he would try to stay until after the plan gets traction.
That being said, however, with the Palestinian Authority rejecting the deal from the very beginning, Greenblatt worries the plan will be dead upon arrival.
All right, on a related note, while the average Israeli may be in debt, not every aspect of Israel is struggling with financial hardships, and ILTV's Chana Fold has the story.
The new Israeli shekel is actually doing very well in the global economy. Though again, depending on where you live, this is either great news or really bad news. Because $1 US gets you 3.5 shekels today, but Americans who frequent Israel are used to getting a little bit more bang for their buck. When the dollar is strong, it can get almost 4 Israeli shekels. Similarly, in England, 1 British pound will get you 4.3 shekels, and this is tough for the Brits who are used to getting close to 5. But why is the shekel doing so well? Well, we spoke with value creation expert Dr. Alex Koman from the IDC Herzliya University, who says the shekel is strong because there's simply a high demand for it, especially as products from the high-tech industry here are attracting many foreign buyers who need to pay in shekels as per Israeli policy. And companies like the driving app Waze, for example, can charge billions. In addition to our technological resources, Israel has recently tapped into natural gas, which is a big moneymaker. So the upshot is that over a long period of time, the shekel has gained value, and Israelis can get more for their money when traveling abroad. The con? Israeli products are also more expensive, increasing costs for both locals and exporters, who have more trouble getting buyers on the international market.
The Amazon forest in Brazil has experienced a horrendous season of forest fires, and now the Israeli startup Vegan Nation is on a mission to save the special ecosystem. They've actually leased 15,000 acres of Amazon land for protection. And here to tell us more is Nittany Manson. So Nittany, break this down for us.
Hi, guys. Yeah, that's right. So they have leased this huge piece of land in the Amazon because they want to protect it. Basically,
so it's not for building anything. There's no.
No, they're not going to build it. They're not going to ruin the land. Anything. They have basically taken this land. It's a 10-year lease, and they're saying we are going to protect it.
From deforestation, I imagine.
Deforestation, animal poaching.
Okay.
They want to protect indigenous people who are living there.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, I mean, the fires is a big issue.
Well, the fires are a big issue, and what are some of the? Let's go into that. What are some of the bigger issues that you touched on?
Well,
here?
I mean, when we're talking about the Amazon, we're talking about a piece of land that the Amazon used to cover 14% of the Earth, and now it's only 6. So it's shrinking drastically.
Yeah.
Humans, you can see with the fires that happened in August.
See these images here.
It was basically caused by people. A lot of speculation as to what caused these fires that really are ruining the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Were because of deforestation attempts.
Right. And I mean, but this has been happening every year. It just happened to be all over the news right now.
Because the fires were so big
and
this
what will
time.
happen if we do not protect this piece of land?
There's every second that passes, 6,000 square meters of trees are being eliminated. Wow. And these trees are basically, they make up 20%, they create 20% of the world's oxygen. So if you're thinking about all the oxygen that we breathe, a lot of it is coming from the Amazon. And these fires, deforestation, getting rid of the trees
also eats up carbon dioxide. And,
it'll affect the entire world, 100%. 137.
Well, I mean, animals will disappear as well.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. 137 species of plants, animals, and insects go extinct every day.
Some of which we've never even heard of.
We've never even heard of. We don't know these animals that are going extinct. It's
all right,
insane.
so thank you, Vegan Nation, for leasing this land, and thank you, Nittany, for coming here and telling us about this.
My pleasure.
All right, so we all know that coral reefs around the world are getting wiped out, and that is sad. because fish and a whole ecosystem worth of animals rely on them. So thanks in large part to Israeli scientists, though, the world now has 3D printed coral reefs, as researchers at Ben Gurion University in the Negev were able to scan real reefs and then reproduce 3D prints of them in a bunch of different colors and sizes. And don't worry, because the reefs are made with sustainable bioplastic. But actually, here's where things get really interesting, because after putting 4 of the printed designs next to a real reef in the Red Sea, it turns out that the fish were actually gravitating more towards the man-made reefs, especially the ones that were colorful. That being said, another report actually says that the Red Sea is one of the last holdouts for natural coral reefs, because while water temperatures are rising in seas all over the world and are killing the naturally growing habitats, it's actually thought that the reefs in the Red Sea are doing just fine, and this is mostly because marine biologists believe the reefs originally came from the Indian Ocean, where waters are usually way warmer anyway. Whichever way you dice it, though, a big thank you goes to Israeli scientists for paying special attention to these environments under the sea. All right, now let's switch gears a little bit and come more towards internal Israeli news.
Yeah, we don't often cover some of the more hyper-local news that takes place in Israel because we have an international audience, but today ILTV's Shanna Fold is here with us. What's the first story?
Okay, so I just want to say that a couple of these stories are pretty heavy, and they hit close to home. Local news hits close to home, but we are going to end with something sweet. So let me get started by saying that over the weekend, a 20-year-old soldier here lost his life. He was actually electrocuted in something called an ornamental pool. He was walking out of a bar in North Tel Aviv with some friends, and there was a little pool, one of those ones that are there for decor. They're shallow water. They have plants and flowers.
Why did he go into it? Was there any sign there?
So there was a small sign, and I guess that he missed it, and he actually was electrocuted and died. But there was another case some months back of a 5-year-old girl who also fell in and got shocked, but no investigation was open there and no charges were filed.
Well, sadly, this is not the only terrible news that you have for us today, right? There's another.
I have one more before I get to the fun one. So there was a bus that was driving in Beitar Illit, which is a big city in the West Bank.
Sure, yeah, we have the video here.
If you could take a look at this video, the driver was putting in a headpiece when he lost control of the vehicle, went up onto the curb, and the only thing that stopped him was a bus that was in that stop. A 15-year-old girl just came back from being unconscious. She was severely injured, but at least no one died.
I mean, this is just crazy that they have this footage.
It's harrowing.
9 were injured.
9 injured. I cannot even imagine how the driver is feeling as well right now. Anyhow, give us something happy, please.
Okay, the happy thing. So this morning I came in and my producer made me aware of this anime video. Now this is just an example of how crazy the Israeli election season has been. That there
it's melodramatic at best,
larger than life. That there needs to be an anime, which is Japanese illustrations played with music scores, and there is an epic fight between PM Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman. And there's just so much fun stuff in there, and it all ends with a drop of the vote into a ballot box.
Oh gosh!
Oh, wow.
Well, we need to see a clip.
We need to hear some sound on this.
Let's go into this clip
on.
here.
I wish that we could understand the lyrics. I don't know who's singing there. Or
It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and as an anime fan, I can attest to the fact that this is like super accurate to the way an intro in a typical anime is done, and it's just
absolutely.
Well, the Israeli elections have made it to Japan. Thanks so much for joining us, Shanna.
Shanna, thank you.
All right, well, here with our entertainment update for the week is ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh to give us the rundown on all things famous.
Hey guys, so to start off, we are going to be talking about Madonna. According to reports, Khan, the Israeli public broadcaster, which produced the Eurovision Song Contest in May, filed a lawsuit against Live Nation and Live Nation Israel due to the fact that Madonna apparently violated the terms of their agreement on multiple counts.
Wow. Please go on.
I know. Okay, so a few things. Apparently, Khan provided Madonna with tons of technical and logistical support, such as additional stage assistance, extra staff, security, etc., basically beyond what the Eurovision production was meant to provide, which I guess Madonna was supposed to pay for. And on top of that, she had 2 dancers on stage, one wearing a Palestinian flag and one wearing an Israeli one, which brought politics into the mix.
Well, I mean, everyone knew about the political flag situation, but she did come here and fight the boycott movement by performing here. But what happened, with the technical support? What exactly are they suing her for?
Right. So Madonna's team was supposed to cover the cost of all the extras that she received from Cannes, but ultimately never paid up. So the lawsuit against Live Nation is for a little under $400,000.
All right, so what is next up?
All right, so on a more positive note, Demi Lovato, two-time Grammy nominee and international superstar, is in Israel on a surprise visit. Apparently no one knew she was heading to the Holy Land and went for a visit at the Western Wall.
And is she here to promote any sort of music, or is this more of a personal trip?
No, yeah, so she is not here promoting anything related to work, and it's all about a personal trip. She did mention in a tweet a few years back that she does have Jewish roots, and I guess she's, just kind of looking to connect with them.
Well, I'm sure people were absolutely freaking out when they saw her at the Western Wall. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, especially since no one knew she was even planning a trip here.
Right.
Yeah, but I guess that was the point. She didn't want to be bombarded with reporters, fans, and pictures.
She wanted a vacation.
I know,
She just wanted to come and explore.
She gets that, right? And she definitely is doing that. But one last thing, Beyonce.
Oh, Beyonce. What is she doing? Is she here?
Well, no, I wish. The Queen Bee, once again, is strutting in an original Israeli designer Galia Lahav gown that was specifically made just for the Queen for her to wear to the Oscar Gold Party.
It's probably so crazy for Galia Lahav to get another design, or get to design really another dress for Beyonce.
Yeah, I mean, this certainly isn't the first time. Galia Lahav is a huge wedding dress designer here in Israel, but she's made a splash internationally.
Yeah, and she did also make the dress for Jay-Z and Beyonce's renewed vows. So she actually did mention that she's shocked every single time that the superstar decides to wear one of her designs, which is amazing. But
if they work for their vows,
it's good to stay humble.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for the rundown, Emmanuel. Very exciting news.
Thank you.
Now, there's a new pilot in town, and it's a woman. Now, this is big news for the small country of Israel, even though women have been integrated into the army since the beginning. Well, joining me with the details is ILTV's Nittany Manson. Nittany.
Hi, Natasha. Yeah, so that's true. And here's the news. For the first time in Israel's 71-year Air Force history, a woman is taking the top spot as commander. Calling her Lieutenant Colonel Gimel, the superstar pilot can only be named with her rank and her first initial, which in English is G. So Gimel. And this is all for security purposes, right? And as of Tuesday, she's heading the Nachshon Squadron, which flies surveillance aircraft.
So she's the first female commander in the Air Force ever, in history.
In history, yeah, that's right. Last year, 2 women were appointed as deputy commanders in the drone squadron.
Okay.
But Gimel is the first top. And let me give you a little history on her. Gimel is 35 years old, and she has 2 sons. She joined the IDF back in 2003, and she went through the pilot training course, specializing in flying transport planes. Pilot training courses are no joke, not at all. They are very hard, and she rose through the ranks following her training. By 2015, she took over as deputy commander of the squad and was nominated for the position last year. And she's really calling this opportunity an amazing privilege.
Well, I thought women have had active roles in the Air Force since the beginning of the Army.
Well, that is true, but there were not that many. Looking back, women actually flew fighter planes in 1948 when the country gained independence, and in 1956 during the Sinai War. But women were eventually pushed out of the programs because it was thought that it would be too dangerous for them if they would become captured by the enemy.
Right, but I mean, it would be dangerous for anyone, I would assume.
Right, I would think that as well. And we can't really talk about this exciting news, though, without paying homage to Alice Miller and Yael Rom. Rom was the first ever female graduate of the pilot course in 1951, and Miller was an immigrant from South Africa who actually sued the military for her right to enlist in the pilot program. This was back in 1994, and the Israeli Supreme Court actually said that banning female recruits from the aviation course was unconstitutional.
But I read somewhere that she actually didn't end up becoming a pilot in the end, right?
Yeah, after going through that whole process, she never actually made it to the course because she was found to be medically unfit. Unfortunate. But I would say it was a huge win for women in Israel because this court case really set a precedent.
Now, what about today? What are the options for women today in the Army?
So today, more than 90% of the positions in the Army are actually open to women.
Right.
But Women's Affairs Advisor to the IDF Chief of Staff says that even more positions are opening up.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing to see how the military is growing and accepting so many more groups. But Nittany, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Well, the Israeli national baseball team has just qualified for the upcoming 2020 Olympics. And we're very excited.
Yeah, but this definitely isn't the first time that
It's
Israel
not.
has competed in the Olympics. So ILTV's Nittany Manson is here to give us a little sports history lesson.
Okay, so with Israel's national baseball team making the cut for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, we thought it was important to take a look back at Israel's other big Olympic moments. Israel's National Olympic Committee was established in 1933 under what was then the British Mandate of Palestine. But it wasn't until 1952 that an Israeli delegation actually competed in the Games. All right, now fast forward to 1992, Israel's 10th Games, and Yael Arad brings home the first medal for Israel. This was in judo, and it was followed by bronze the next day, won by Oren Smadja. And from that 1992 Games, the next 5 consecutive ones saw bronze medal wins for Israel, until 2012 when that particular streak ended. But during this bronze streak, in 2004, Gal Friedman made all of Israel proud by winning the country's first, and so far only, gold medal in windsurfing. So to date, Israel holds 1 gold, 1 silver, and 7 bronze medals that they are extremely proud of. But why are all of Israel's medals in non-mainstream sports? Well, the fact that the country is so small compared to most other Olympic contenders means that individual sports are, let's face it, much more practical. And more than that, while we're on the topic of Israel's size, let's break that down a bit. At the last Summer Games in Rio, Israel sent 46 athletes. Now, the United States sent 558. While that may seem drastically larger, the population is 40 times larger than Israel, but the delegation is only 12 times larger. And Singapore, who's around the same size as Israel, sent 25 athletes. So for their size, Israel's 46, not too shabby. And it's no surprise that Israel has some high hopes for the upcoming 2020 Games in Tokyo. In addition to baseball, there's been a lot of talk surrounding Linoy Ashram, who will be competing in rhythmic gymnastics. And they're hinting that Sagi Muki, who just placed first in the Judo World Championship, could give the Holy Land its second gold medal. And bringing us back to baseball, the last time that Israel had a whole team participate in the Olympic Games was all the way back in 1976 for soccer. So having the national baseball team make the cut, well, it's a pretty big deal.
All right, that's it for this week's Roundup. Tune in next week for the next episode of ILTV's Weekly Review. I'm Aaron Porras, and thank you for joining us.